we're joined by Matthew Ward. Matthew, good morning.
Morning, afternoon.
Afternoon even now, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you giving us confirmation, giving us the time for a quick chat on a perspective of a promoter, a manager, somebody that's been in the game dealing with high-profile players. But how are what are your thoughts on MAD and how the amateur game can really kick on once this situation gets back to normal?
I think it's a great concept and idea. Obviously, with the BDO folding, an uncertainty regarding sort of the second tier of the game, it's nice to see there's a market competition for it with MAD, yourself, and I think there's another organisation. I'm not going to give them free airtime on your podcast, but I think it's UKDA or something. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
There's obviously a competition to get that second tier. Obviously, PDC have got the professional game sewn up quite easily now. There's no real competition, which is sad, really. But it's nice that other guys outside the 1 to 8 are going to get extra opportunities because although they do get the Challenge Tour, it is very compressed and a bit of a cattle market, really, because I don't think quality players come through the Challenge Tour as much as they should. And you look at players like Jamie Hughes and Christoph Ratajski that played on it for a year and only won one title, and them two are Christoph's top 14 world-class player. I think Jamie Hughes played 16 tournaments and only had won like 2 good tournaments.
Right.
Jim Williams has played a few. I know he's won one. He's a quality player as well. So yeah, I think it's nice to get opportunities as soon as we get back to normal. I think it's great. I think it's another platform for players to progress and learn and come through. The Gezi Price, look at him. 7 years ago, he wasn't even a professional. The day that Marco van Gerwen took over the number 1 spot, 3 days later, Gezi won his card. It just, Q School is where every player wants to be. But some people need a stepping stone to go from the pub and counties game up until the PDC, because that's a big jump. There's a big chasm in quality there, and sometimes people get scared off and don't come back. Use the sort of like the example of if you chuck somebody in the deep end of the swimming pool, sometimes they'll swim and sometimes they'll drown. And if you drown, some people never come back. And I've known quality players that have just got scared of it and said, I can't do this. And it's nice to sort of like build your way up. Another term is boxing. When you first start out at boxing, you don't get put in with Anthony Joshua. You build your way up with a couple of journeymen. Yeah. But darts, there's no such thing. You get straight in. You're in with the big boys. First game, you could draw Marco van Gerwen. He does you 6-0 with 110 average, and you're like, what the hell is this? And that's not a true representation of the whole of darts. There is 92, 93 averages will win your games, but if you're continually drawing Marco van Gerwen, the very top end of the game, or Gezi Price, the very top end, you're going to get scared. So a build up in quality is what I think darts really needs. So yeah, this MAD idea is really good.
So what is refreshing is that somebody like yourself that's dealing with the very top end of the game, for you to sit there and actually say that the pub to pro system that MAD is creating is going to give some huge encouragement to those players that, as you say, can work hard, can go through the MAD system, play lots of events, and we haven't come to the major events yet, but regularly, and feel that there's some reward and recognition. But also, someone like yourself and others may have a little eye open just to think, I might take a punt on that one.
Yeah, it's good because we are people get carried away with signing players. You'll see a player perform well, and you'll think, I'll have him, and it's some people will see him perform badly and think he's a bad player. So yeah, it's good to get a consistent view of somebody playing like 10 or 12 games to think, well, he's decent. I've got a couple of players that have posted post 60 averages, and also in the same weekend have done 108. So Jamie Hughes at the World, I keep talking about Jamie because he looks like me, but he had a 75 average at the World Championships, and then he also holds the world record average of 125 recorded in a PDC game. So that's 50 points difference. So, one day you could tune in and think, wow, he's amazing. And then if somebody had tuned into darts in one point and said, well, he's rubbish, but people have bad days. Footballers have bad days, so it's good to get a consistent view of players. And the more these guys can play, the better.
Absolutely. We're already seeing across the internet at the minute, because we're not throwing any darts, as you know. A lot of proposed events for the latter part or middle of 2021 now with MAD affiliation, which means you can get your ranking points, and then you'll be able to get onto a system where you can actually see the progression of these players. But again, from the other side of things, your eventing, and the big sort of exhibitions and what have you, is the structure that MAD have got for things like the belt system. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, that's going to bring out some people we may have never heard of. Thought, I'll have a go. I'll go and get some sponsorship and make a name for themselves.
Well, that's the main thing that sort of caught my eyes. Obviously, I'm a big wrestling fan. And we've had evenings with wrestling legends, Bret Hart, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle, the last 5 or 6 years. And I think that is one of the initiatives that MAD have done that is going to have to wait till live events are on. For me, I'll say, right, I'll get Wayne Warren down to one of my events in Leicester or Derby or Barnsley or whatever, and put the money up, and then Ricky would sell tickets as if he's going for the belt, and we could make a big deal of it. That's where the sort of like it gets my attention. The games that you're running, the rankings and everything's interesting to keep a far eye on, but I won't get really invested in it. But the belt system could be something that I will look at. I think probably back end of this year, when hopefully we're all safe and we can go out and mingle and again and into 2022, when hopefully we're back running full steam.
Oh yes, indeed. The belt system is hugely exciting. I mean, and there's the this gauntlet they're going to do, where you haven't got a clue who's coming out next to play, and you've got to stay on for I don't know.
Royal Rumble.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, but isn't it time that something like this happened to the sport in the amateur game?
Oh, I like the concept. I mean, at the minute, it's been launched in a time where we can't really do a lot, and I don't really like to watch online darts. And I think a lot of people, it's a last resort. They like live darts. And obviously, in the April, May time when Modus were doing streams, they were the only things that we could watch, which was great. But when you see live darts come back, it'll sort of take a back seat. So I'm looking forward to it when we're back up and running, and we can really see the progression. Because I know how much work Steve puts in, and probably to the detriment of his own darting career, really, because Steve was a top 28, 29 player, qualified for all the majors, won a couple of Pro Tours, UK Open. He was ranked number one in one of the UK Open order of merit. So he was the number one player over 6 to 8 events. So he can play the game. I think that taking on the JDC and this has been detriment to him. So I know how much hard work he puts into his darts.
Yeah.
And his...
No, there's no denying that, I'm sure, and Steve would agree. But I guess he's still sat at the top table at the minute, so we'll take.
Yeah. I
I
remember him getting his card, then saying the next day I'm going to China, so I'll blame him.
The guy never stops. He never stopped. But look at what's been created from the work and the ideas. Just being selfish, because everybody probably knows me from the junior side of the game. Now there's a system that I believe in, trust, think has got a bit of razzmatazz. Will promote the game at regional level all over the world, hopefully eventually, not just in the UK. So there's an avenue for all these youngsters that are not probably going to get to that top table, and it just gives them another opportunity to show their worth and how brilliant they can be, and that's what's exciting for me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that they want to play the game because they all want to be pros. Everybody don't play football because they think they're going to play for Manchester United or Liverpool. Play it for the enjoyment of the game, and sometimes that gets pushed on you, and the pressure can take its toll. Harry Ward, great player. I managed Harry for 3 or 4 years. Saw him win a Pro Tour, win on the world stage, and then he decided it wasn't for him. And I can understand why, because unless you're going to give yourself dedication to this game and make this the number one in your life, that you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve. And I can understand you might not want to. I've got a player, which I'm not going to name, people know I'm talking about. He's probably the most talented young player there is in darts. He's got everything you need. he's never took it too seriously, and hopefully we've had conversation. He's going to take it seriously now, and if he does, he'll reap the rewards. But some people like to just play the game for the love of the game, and the more times they play, they go out for a drink, social. It's a pub game at the end of the day, so it's going to be a social game, and not everybody wants to be world champion. Some people just like to be the king of their pub or their area. So
exactly,
it doesn't always have to lead to the PDC.
No, you're right. The regional thing, and the super regions around the UK, and you can be a regional champion, you can be a super regional champion, you can be this. It's just so much on offer, and it's really, really interesting and really good of you to give us your opinion of somebody that's sort of not looking down, but looking, as you said, one eye. I think you said on
my good eye.
Yeah, the progression of the amateur game, but also you're interested in some of those. What I think the bout system is just, as you say, a bit of a wrestling thing there, but it just creates a bit of excitement.
Yeah, he's got a lot of criticism. Well, not a lot, but a few people criticising him, and I think it's the first person out the gate always sort of like gets blood on the knuckles. You know what I mean? It's like he's trying something new, and people are going to criticise because it's changed for what they know. So, somebody that sort of like, I never take myself too seriously. I get people saying stuff about me as well, so I just don't really listen. So if you don't like it,
you said not everybody's going to be like wanting to throw 100 averages and driving flying around the world to be a top player. Some people might actually like to just be the cream of the crop of Leicestershire or Derbyshire or Worcestershire, whatever.
Yeah, there's players out there that talented, probably better than some of the guys that in the top 32 in the PDC, but they just don't want to travel. And I used Vicky Sudell. We're talking 20 years ago now. I wouldn't have been able to name 20 players better than him in the world if he'd have played all around the counties. It was regular averaging 93, 94, and his game would have gone up had he had the backing. But Vicky had a good job and didn't want to risk it. And at the time, you're talking the top prize in darts was £50,000, which if somebody gives you 50 grand, it's great, but not for the pinnacle of the sport. Obviously, it's different now. It's $500,000, and that's just the start.
So, just as we come to an end of this wonderful conversation, for those that don't know about you, Matt, some do and some don't. As you say, some will talk about you and some won't. But how did you get into all this? I mean, is it you played a bit, then got involved in the managing side? How did that come about?
I used to play. I wanted to be a dart player. I was right. Decent level. Finished. I was close to being the top in my sort of like Colville, Leicestershire area. Wasn't exact. Well, arguably, I'd fancy my chances against anybody. Then I just stopped playing. I was a plumber by trade, a bad one, and I got sacked one March. I think it was 2007, and I went to the Premier League in Sheffield. And Barney had just beat Taylor to become world champion, and Barney actually played Phil that night. And I think Phil was 5-1 down and won 7-5 or something. And there was a card on the table, a business card, and it was of Paul Booth, and it was Adrian Lewis on tour. Yeah. Adrian had just broke into the Premier League, was a big name of darts. Still is a big name, of course, 2-time world champion. But at the time, he was like the up and coming youngster on the rise, a lot of hype. And we did an event. Paul said, "Look, put an event on." That got cancelled, and we rearranged it, and we actually got Raymond in as well. Barney. So my first event's on YouTube. If you want to search for it, Barney versus.
Everybody search for it.
Yeah, Barney versus Lewis, and featuring Mark Selby as well. And was Mark's. With the last year, we've actually reconnected. He's a good friend, Dow Gurneys. So we talk a lot on WhatsApp. I've been to visit him a few times before lockdown, and he came to the event. News was there because Mark was a former world finalist that year as well. And then did a few more like that because I was out of work at the time. So did a few more events, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then Justin Pipe came about that he wanted a manager. So we had about 18 months with Justin, signed Stuart Kellett and Dean Winstanley. And then a young lad from Northern Ireland came about. You might have heard of him, Darryl Gurney.
No, never.
So he came about, and sort of like obviously a couple of years later, Darryl's rise started, and we've managed to work with players, Jamie Hughes, Benito, Ricky Evans now, James Wilson. So yeah, we've had some bad times, we've had some good times, and I think I've been bowling darts now nearly 15 years, which is scary because I was didn't know what the hell was going on. But the problem is the thing is with me is I get too emotionally involved with the games, and I'm just an absolute wreck when I'm watching them. Sometimes I can't. This time, the World Championships, I can't sit still like that last leg when Darryl played Gezi in 108. I was up facing the other way, just waiting over into it to say game shot. I get too emotional. It affects me for 3 days. I can't talk. Sometimes I'm more down than the players. So it's crazy. And I always said I just wanted one Pro Tour win. And just to see him win a Pro Tour, to be the best in the day, and I'd accept that in my life. Then obviously he won the Grand Prix and the Players, and now you sort of like expectations change. But if I never seen him win, if I never seen any of my players win on TV, a TV event again, you know, sometimes you don't know what you've had because you get greedy. And you know, I mean, I'll show you. This is what I've got on my walls.
Oh, my living room. Guided tour of the Ward household.
That's the board, and
very nice.
I'm boring you now, but
no, you're not. No, God, blimey, I'm sure this would be incredibly interesting to everybody.
There you go. So that's the shirt he wore when he beat Guy Anderson at match play, which was like the first big win on TV that we thought, wow, he can actually do stuff. And that's the board that he won the Grand Prix, and you can see the double 10 where he hit it. Was there. So yeah, that's my living room. So
vividly remember those moments actually, and I think because, and that's no disrespect to any other players, but for those of us that are in the amateur world and we look at those players that have made it, you know, perhaps once or twice and made a real good push for things, I think that just gives us hope. I think it gives us hope that someone like yourself is got an eye on the game at amateur level. You're prepared to even consider maybe looking at some of those players that are coming through the MAD system, maybe those that have perhaps put a bid in for a bout and beaten up a few of the old, you know, the Fittons and the those sort of players. So, you know, from a MAD perspective, it's really encouraging that someone like yourself is prepared to engage and just sort of keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Like I say, once we're back to normal, it'll be interesting to see how it develops. And looking forward to everybody being back, and looking forward to the crowds being back, whether they're booing or cheering.
It's really, really good of you, mate. It's nice to talk to you, and let's hope that things get back to normal swiftly. And you know, we'll hopefully touch base and see what happens towards the end of 2021.
Looking forward to it, mate. Thank you for having me on. You've kept me busy for half hour, so
that's fine, no problem. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Thanks, pal.